What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrubby here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are all having an absolutely fantastic day. I know I am. If you are, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam. The invisible hamster sitting next to you will get squished by a 10-pound weight. Yeah, don't mess with me, okay? This is not a joke. This is not a joke. There is an invisible hamster next to you that will be squished if you don't press the like button. Anyways, I think everybody's had a substitute teacher that for some reason thinks they're actually in charge of the class, alright? Like, your teacher's sick and they walk in and they slap something on the desk and they go, "Now listen, children, today we're gonna learn, and we're gonna learn good. And even though I'm not your teacher, today we're gonna write the best essay you've ever had." And you're like, "Ma'am, this is a Wendy's drive-thru, please back away slowly." And, you know, substitute teachers definitely don't get tons of respect in school, and sometimes that sucks because they are chill people just trying to do their job and go home. But I think everybody's had at least one sub for some reason who actually feels like it's their job to, you know, continue actually teaching you. And today I'm going to be telling you guys about a crazy substitute teacher I had one time. I am going to warn you guys that this does get a little funny at some parts, so if you're not ready to giggle, then click off the video. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So I had this teacher who I'm going to name Mr. Kevin, and Mr. Kevin was a pretty okay teacher, alright? Don't get me wrong, he wasn't fantastic. Like, if I had a survey for him at the end of the year, I would not be writing "remarkable teacher, would recommend" for literally any subject underneath, but I also wouldn't be mad either. Like, Mr. Kevin was the most mad teacher of all time. I think his class was the perfect description out of a 5 out of 10 on the happiness scale. Like, if I had to describe dead average to people, I would use Mr. Kevin's teaching style. So whenever he was gone, people didn't really care, but whenever he was there, people didn't really care either. So out of all the classes you could get a substitute in, that was probably one of the worst ones, you know, because for the most part, you didn't really mind having him as a teacher. Substitutes are always great when you walk into your one teacher that slightly reminds you of Joseph Stalin, and you're like, "Oh, she's not here today, thank God," and you feel relieved when you don't see her. But when your teacher, you know, really doesn't bug you much, it's not as great to see a substitute. So one day, I walk into Mr. Kevin's class, and standing there is a substitute teacher who I've never seen before. I think most of you know that, like, most subs kind of have a reputation. Everybody knows that there's, like, the fun sub that kind of lets you do whatever you want. There's the strict sub, but I had never seen this woman before. The only thing I can describe that she looked like is, you know, I don't know how to describe it. Imagine Paula Deen if Paula Deen was younger and had red hair. Like, that's really what this girl looked like. And when I walked in, she looked so much like Paula Deen that I expected her to start shoving sticks of butter down my throat and just trying to get me to eat as much butter as humanly possible. But that's kind of off topic. So whatever. I walk in and I see Paula Deen as a sub, and the rest of the class is kind of sitting there not really knowing what to think, because if you are a substitute teacher, everyone's sizing you up every step of the way. Like, everybody's kind of seeing how far they can get away with things, because most subs are pretty easy to get away with, and it's really not that big of a deal. So we're kind of just sitting there waiting for her to start talking, see what's going on. So the bell rings for class to start, and everybody's finally in class. Except for one of my friends who I'm going to name Marcel. And Marcel walks in maybe 15 seconds after the bell rings. Not enough for it to be noticeably late and cause a problem. And he walks in and he goes to sit down. And our substitute teacher looks at him and goes, "Excuse me, who do you think you are?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, sorry. I was talking to my teacher from my old class. I'm sorry I'm a couple seconds late." And he sets his backpack down. She's like, "Did I tell you that you may enter the classroom?" And he's kind of like, "What?" And she's like, "Well, you're late. And I think if you're late, you have to ask permission to enter the classroom. No. Who do you think you are to come in here and just act like you own the place walking in late? Do you have any idea that all these other students were on time? Do you know what it's like for other students to be on time and you think you can just walk all over the place?" And the rest of the class is kind of like, yo, Marcel can be 15 seconds late. I promise I don't feel disrespected at all. Like, realistically, I'm sorry. I don't feel disrespected if another student is late. I don't care. If anything, hey, yo, bro, get your bag. Like, be late. That's fine. Do your thing, Marcel. If you need to go in the hallway and pee, that's fine. I don't care. You can be late. It's not going to sweat me at all. But she was trying to, like, turn us on Marcel for him being literally 15 seconds late. So Marcel's kind of like, "Oh, I'm sorry, may I enter the class?" Like, he's trying to be nice. And she's like, "Yes, I guess you can. But next time, don't be late." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, okay." And that kind of lets everybody know how today is going to go. Like I said, whenever you get a sub, you kind of test the boundaries a little bit. You see what's cool, you see what's not. And knowing that she's going to yell at you for doing literally anything is definitely up there for not being a super chill day. And we all kind of know that. We're kind of okay with the fact that she's just not going to be the chillest person to ever exist. So Marcel sits down and then she goes, now, your teacher left an assignment for you guys to do today, but to be frank, I thought it was busy work, and considering I used to teach this subject myself, I'm going to take it upon myself to teach you the next lesson. So get out your textbooks. And I don't know if this lady was teaching classes in 1975, but kids don't really have their own textbooks anymore, and if we do, we don't bring them to class with us, right? So some poor soul named Abigail, who was literally a straight A student, like, if anyone was going to prank a substitute teacher, it wasn't this girl. If anything, Abigail is the type of person where if you tried to prank the substitute teacher, she would go, excuse me, miss, they are what they call pulling your chain. I, a studious student of multiple wealth, simply know that you, a teacher, deserve respect, and therefore I will warn you of the fact that these students are trying to bamboozle you, pull your chain, and overall distract you from the real education that we should be having. Like, Abigail was a whole snitch, and she goes, we don't have textbooks. And this teacher, after yelling at Marcel for being 15 seconds late, decides that Abigail is the most disrespectful person she's ever heard. Apparently, she forgot Marcel being 15 seconds late earlier, but she looks at Abigail and goes, excuse me, young lady, does it look like I was born yesterday? And me, being a smart aleck, I go, no, definitely not. And she looks at me and goes, what is that supposed to mean? I'm like, nothing. And she goes, we'll deal with you later. So she looks back at Abigail and goes, I know that you guys have textbooks. I've taught in schools before, and I know for a fact that every single one of you has these textbooks in your backpack. So you have 15 seconds to have your textbooks out. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem. And so all of us are just kind of looking at each other, and nobody starts getting their textbooks out. And she goes, okay, if this is how you want to do it, that's fine. And then looks at me. Now, young man, were you calling me old? And I kind of like smiled a little bit, and I was like, no, I was just saying that you carry yourself with such confidence that you seem like you have experience. And she's like, aha, very funny. You can stay after class and we can have a little chat. Hello? Textbooks, and she starts snapping her fingers, which, first of all, I get teachers are in charge or whatever. Don't snap your fingers at me. That's just rude, especially when you're telling me what you know about my school and the fact that I have textbooks when I can promise you I don't have a textbook in my backpack, okay? I don't know if you want me to poof one into existence. This isn't Hogwarts, lady, so you snapping your fingers at me telling me to get my textbook out isn't gonna make it happen. Alakazam, the textbook doesn't exist in my backpack. I really don't know what you would like me to do about that. Anyways, so she's like, where are the textbooks at? I'm gonna count to 10. 1, 2, 3, and she counts to 10. I'm not gonna count to 10. Could you imagine if I just kept counting? Like, I really just sat here and was like, 3. I counted to 10 in slow-mo. Anyway, she counts to 10. She goes, that's it. I'm calling the dean, and all of you are getting written up for insubordination. And we're like, bro, we don't have textbooks. So she calls the dean and says that the entire class is being insubordinate. And the dean comes to our class, and he's like, okay, what's going on? Are they being disrespectful? Are they not respecting you? Because I'm not gonna lie, our school was kind of notorious for not respecting substitutes to the point where subs didn't like substituting at our school anymore, which, I mean, I get. I wouldn't want to go substitute for a bunch of unruly high school kids that are disrespectful and mean. But whatever, the dean comes and she's like, they're not getting out their textbooks. I told them to get their textbooks out, and now, you know, now they're gone and they're not listening to me. I need them to get their textbooks out so I can teach them. This is disrespectful and rude. I cannot believe that you are so unruly that your students would behave this way. And the dean stops her and he goes, ma'am, they don't have textbooks. Our school doesn't give them to kids to take home. And she's like, what? That is a lie. You know that's not true. I know that the school district gives out textbooks. He goes, we haven't given out textbooks since like the 80s. We keep a class set that this class doesn't have. They rule around. You only have textbooks in this class on Wednesday, right? And so she starts arguing with the dean about the fact that we all secretly have textbooks, and somehow we paid off the dean to make her look stupid. Like, this high school class really said, hello, substitute teacher we've never seen before. We're gonna pay the dean to make you look like an idiot. So she's going off on the dean now, saying that he's a liar to try to ruin her career. And trust me, if you're substitute teaching for a class that no one's ever seen you before, something tells me your whole teaching career thing isn't going that well in the first place. Like, no one's ever been like, oh, man, my dream career is to be a substitute teacher that nobody knows. Like, no one says that. So she accuses the dean of us paying off the dean to say that we don't have textbooks, that way we don't have to do the work, which is dumb. And then the dean's like, wait a second, the lesson plan doesn't mention the textbook, it says to do this. And she goes, well, that lesson plan is ridiculous and I know better. And the dean's kind of like, well, it's not your class, so you don't really get to make that call. And now she starts going off about how she's smarter than everyone in this school and us kids need structure, and the fact that we have no structure is why we're so unruly. And the dean's kind of like, okay. And he kind of leaves, and the teacher looks back at us and she's like, now, I guess since we don't have textbooks, since this school district is flawed and disgusting and you guys paid off your dean to hide them from me, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. and then she started like writing on the whiteboard and started yelling about how it's not as good as chalkboards used to be. Like, I'm telling you, this woman might have taught Jesus in 3rd grade. That's how old she is. And she's just going off and off and off. And finally the bell rings and we all leave. And I guess for the rest of the day, she was the same way. She kept trying to trick kids into saying that we had textbooks. Like, she was wild. And like I said, we had a pretty consistent rotation of subs. And after that, I never saw her again, which I don't think was an accident. I think the dean was like, bruh, I can't have this mentally unstable old woman yelling at my students saying that I'm a liar that they can pay off. I feel like that's just not a good look. And lady, if you're out there, substitute teacher woman who's absolutely mentally unstable, I don't know what your problem was, dog, but I definitely do not care enough about you to sabotage your career by paying off my dean. I really don't. Regardless, that's the story of me and my crazy substitute teacher. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below if you enjoyed. If you didn't, that's fine too. You know, whatever floats your boat. Today's notification shout out goes to the one, the only, the legendary Jamie is Sleepy. Big shout out to you for having on notifications. If you want a notification shout out, send me a screenshot of your notifications being on my Instagram at Scrubby, and I shout somebody every day. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time with another video. I love each and every one of you, and I'm out. Peace. And don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're not a substitute teacher. I'm out. Peace.